Right. Okay, thanks so much for sticking around after lunch. I wanted to quickly introduce our panels so that we can give you the most information possible in the next 45 minutes or so. Will you turn that guy off for now? And then I'll walk away. There we go. Okay. We're good. We'll figure it out. Okay. So first, I wanted to introduce to you Saria Finkelstein. If you were here earlier, she did a class about on Facebook. But Saria is a third-generation real estate professional. She's the lead buyer specialist for the #1 team in the state of Florida within the Keller Williams organization, who sold $74 million in real estate in 2014. So a big round of applause for Saria Finkelstein. Saria also serves as our YPN Broward chapter chair and sits on our Broward board for the Miami Association of Realtors. So a big welcome. Next we have Miguel Salvat, a thorn between two roses, right? Oh. So Miguel earned his license in 2007, started his career as a new realtor, was like learning to swim by being thrown in the deep end of the pool. The economic recession was taking its toll on the industry. No one felt the pressure more than agents like Salvat, who remained committed to helping people fulfill their real estate dreams. Fast forward just 8 years later, he's still a YPNer. This professional's record of accomplishments attests to how hard work really does pay off. Last year, he closed $15 million in transactions alone with just a part-time assistant, and also sits on our YPN our YPN Council within the Miami Association of Realtors. So please welcome Miguel Salvat. Okay, and last but not least, we have Jaclyn Kelly. Jaclyn Kelly, at the age of 18, left Boston, Massachusetts for Key Largo. It's much warmer down there, right? Okay, with only $200 and enough determination to create a better life. 4 short years later, in 2006, she got her real estate license, dove in headfirst, and became involved with the Florida Keys Board of Realtors as a director and later president, with a goal to learn as much as possible as a young agent. She now has 10 industry certifications and designations. 8 years later, she opened Star Properties in the Florida Keys as the sole broker owner and has 5 incredibly productive agents. So please welcome Jaclyn Kelly. Okay, so I wanted to thank you all for being here, and I have a couple questions that I sent you, and I'm just not going to use any of them. Okay, so I hope you're ready. No, I'm kidding. So I wanted to ask, and we'll start with you, Jaclyn. In the Keys, in the Miami Association of Realtors and in District 4, I think we have over like 40-something thousand realtors, right? So it's often hard to say how we are different or what makes us different. I'm going to move over here. What makes us different? How do we set ourselves apart? I think that's the biggest challenge that a lot of realtors face when they get into the industry. Young, new, seasoned, you're constantly saying, how do I set myself apart? So what would you say is your niche, or how do you say that you differentiate yourself within the market and your competition?
There it is. Well, actually, when I got into the business, that was at 22, that was my biggest thing. How do I stand out in this industry where I'm a minority, basically, and everybody is so much more educated and advanced than I was. So I dove into the board, and that really gave me what I felt was a competitive edge. It gave me the confidence that I needed to feel like I knew what I was doing in this industry. So the leadership roles is actually what really helped me, and got involved in committees and on the board of realtors, and that really helped.
I think when I started, the timing was horrible. The market was crashing, everything was on a downward spiral, but I basically stuck to it, and many of the clients that I have today were clients that I couldn't close any deals with at the time because nothing made sense, but giving them my all, and especially service-wise, they saw that and they stuck with me and they came back when things were better. And most of those clients that I couldn't transact with back then for XYZ reason are the majority of the deals that I'm doing now, and my business is mostly referral-based, so they refer me their friends and family, and it's grown from there.
Okay, so my niche, one of them is obviously social media. That's something that I really focus on a lot with my business. The other two that I would say are definitely first-time home buyers. That's something that I love, love, love doing. There's nothing like giving a young family, new married couple, the keys to their first home and being part of that experience with them. And then my third one would be open houses. That is something that is my bread and butter. You can catch me on any weekend in at least one open house, and during the summer, during the week as well, in a twilight open house. So those are really my three niches.
Okay. So, we talked a little bit about your niche, and you touched on it now just here. As far as advertising or getting new clients, right? What, seasoned, young, old, again, that's kind of what we need to be doing. Miguel, you said yours is a little referral based. You said a lot of open houses and social media. Is there something else that you haven't touched on that say, where do you get your next client? I mean, I always say in real estate, you never know where your next deal is coming from. So what do you guys do that you find is the most effective, maybe use of your time to find your next client? And we'll start right here with Miguel.
In terms of marketing and advertising, I use a couple of things. Email marketing, as George would say, my spam marketing, is probably my strongest point. I'm up to about 55,000 emails in my list. And I follow it up with social media, and I'm always on the phone. I'm always making phone calls. So, but my bread and butter per se is my past clients. I'm constantly following up on my past clients. I have a database that's only past clients, and I call them on rotation and just stay in touch with them. Just friendly phone calls, but a lot comes from that.
I try to mix it up a bit so that way I can target all the different generational buyers and sellers that we have. So I don't put all my eggs in one basket, but certainly I get most of my clients from my website, from lead generation on my website. We do a lot of buyer representation. It's what we spend, we do a lot on Google AdWords and stuff as a new company to make sure that our site is on the first page. And we have a great CRM to be able to follow up with them, drip campaigns and things like that, but we also farm neighborhoods. We do a lot of postcards, we do a lot of mailers, and so we try to mix it up, but our website is hands down the best.
Yeah, same as Jaclyn. I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket, so I really try to spread myself out. And obviously the three that I mentioned are very big avenues for me. I also try to go out there. I do home buying seminars at my local credit union to meet people. I go out there to different networking events, brokers opens, whatever type of things, especially ones that aren't just real estate related, that are more multi-industry. I like to meet a lot of people that way and put myself out there and get to know them and start building relationships so we can send referrals back and forth. And vendors is a huge way that I do a lot of my business. I refer them a lot of business, so they are always sending it my way because it's the relationship we've created.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so we talked, when you guys talk about what you do, right? Your website. Now, for someone who doesn't have a website or doesn't blog, that can sound like a lot of work. So, and even following up with your past clients or holding open houses, what's the most efficient way to do some of your key actionable items? For instance, what's the most efficient way? Is it doing Google AdWords, or when you follow up with your past clients, do you have a calendar that you follow on how you touch base with them, or what you do to make it a little bit more efficient for someone who, if you're on a team, maybe don't have a team, or even how do you put together an open house? So if you can give us some tips on those types of things. We'll start with you.
Well, since you said how to put together an open house, I can do an open house right now. It's all in my car. I'm prepared to do one at any point in time. It just depends. Sometimes it's obviously better if you have the time and the opportunity to go and door knock in the neighborhood prior to help get as many people there as possible. A lot of people would say that open houses don't work, that's old school, you're just going to get nosy neighbors. In my opinion, bring on the nosy neighbors, because those are all of my future sellers. When people come into my open, I'm set up to talk with a buyer and a seller. At every open house, it's myself, a listing specialist, and also a lender. So that way, at any point in time when they come in, we can answer any question that they're there with. I have all of our listing marketing out there to show them what type of marketing we do for sellers, and then I also have a lot of information on how we can help buyers. So you just want to be armed and ready for whatever kind of questions are coming at you. And again, my relationships with my vendors. My lender is there whenever I need him. He sits in open houses, minimum one every single weekend with me, and we create those relationships together. And it's awesome. If you don't have a lender who's willing to do that with you, it's time for a new one.
In terms of my strong suit, it's the personal referrals. So for the most part, I just implemented Top Producer, and it has a section called Follow-Up Coach. And every morning, that's the first thing I do, and I go through at least 15 or 20 of my past clients, give them a call while I'm in the car, while I'm on my way to an appointment. Whenever you have free time, you just give them a call and follow up with them, and it's like shaking trees. I mean, you get
Running from an appointment, I have somebody to call.
exactly. Always past clients. I mean, they're your bread and butter.
And when you call them, just hello?
Just hello. It's just a friendly hello. I mean, I don't want to make it a sales call. I don't want to put them on pressure. I just, I want to, no, not at all. It's just, but most of my past clients, once again, are friends and people that I've known throughout the years. So it's just a comfortable conversation, but it's reminding them that I'm a realtor. And then beyond that, they see me on Facebook, Twitter, whatnot, and they get my emails. So it's, you know, when they think of the word realtor, only one thing comes to mind because you've got it imprinted in their head at that point.
Well, I focus mostly on my online lead conversion, and to get the website that I have, I did a lot of research on figuring out, finding a website developer that could deliver everything that I needed and at an affordable price. Very difficult task. So, but the back end system on my website really is absolutely my bread and butter. The lead comes through there. They of course have a profile, and I can log notes on everything that we've talked about, and I can set a reminder to do a follow-up call. So in between showings or anything, I just open it up, everything's on my phone, click on the lead, see our past conversations, call them, say hello. I can focus it or sort it by who's been the most active, so I can call them and just say, hey, I noticed that you were looking at this property a lot, did you have any questions? So I focus on the ones that are more active and the ones that are really ready to buy, and call them as much as I can. And just focus on those guys. So it works out good.
Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about what maybe your toughest challenge has been. You guys talked a little bit about, in your profiles, we talked a lot, many of you started in the recession and have been through that. So what's the toughest challenge, and what's something that you learned that maybe we can learn from that? Something that you say, I'll never do that again, or maybe I repeated a couple times, but I shouldn't ever do that again. And how did you overcome it? We'll start with you, Jaclyn.
Well, my biggest challenge was staying alive during the recession and making sure I could eat. And with the hard work and determination really is what got me through it, and being able to handle rejection and bad deals and stuff falling apart all the time. So just keeping your head up high and just keep pushing through, and just not letting it get you down when somebody tells you no or tells you they don't want to list with you or whatever it may be. And just keep on plugging and know that it's a business, it's just a business decision. It's not personal, and keep going. So keep determination and perseverance will get you there.
I guess in my case, my biggest challenge has been delegating. You know, like Christina said, last year I did 89 transactions, and I only had a part-time assistant. So it's very difficult. I'm a little bit of a control freak. This year, I just hired a buyer's agent, and I'm starting to try to let go a little bit, but it's tough, and it's a mental situation. But if you want to pass that ceiling and you want to continue and you want to break those 100 transactions and grow, it's necessary. So I don't think I've completely gotten over it yet, but little by little, we're working on it.
I would say that my biggest challenge, I was very fortunate enough to not have to feel the recession. I joined a team with my aunt and my grandma, and she had been building a business for 18 years, and my grandma had a business for 40 years. So we had a very, very strong business already, and those were actually some of our best years because people go to the brand that they know during that time. So I would say that my biggest challenge really was my age. I started when I was 22 years old, and who wants to have a 22-year-old sell their $500,000, million-dollar home? So I think that was the biggest challenge that I had to overcome and really had to prove myself. And Facebook really helped me do that. It was kind of a fake it till you make it sort of thing. People believe what they see online. So if you're out there and you're telling people that you're amazing, they believe it. And then they give you the opportunity to show them that you're amazing. So definitely my age was what was a little bit difficult, but you just had to find a way. Leaders find a way to pivot and make it work, and you just do.
It's a great segue into my next question. Let me send this over here. Okay, so we talk as YPN a lot about getting involved, and you heard Jaclyn and everyone up here is already involved, and as a young person, it's hard to get involved and to realize the ROI. But there's also a lot of generational gap. I experienced it myself. Young people don't have as much credibility, regardless of how many years in the business we've had. So what have you guys felt at all any generational gap, well, be it with other realtors or with sellers, buyers, even friends, and how do you guys overcome that? And I think it can play a role with the other way as well. No matter what age, we're all in the same industry, but we may have a different way of doing things. So can each of you talk a little bit about that?
I think really the technology is where you see the biggest difference in the generations. When I'm sending electronic signatures or anything like that, it's something that's very foreign to them. I'm always open and letting them know that I will teach them, walk them through it so that they can learn how to do it, because I'm really a teacher at heart. That's what I love doing, is helping people and teaching them, because you learn when you teach. So that's definitely where I see the most of it. How I try to bridge that gap, I go to as many brokers opens as possible, networking events. You know, your clients, your best clients are the other agents. Those are the people that are accepting your deals and getting your buyers their homes. So I'm very, very aware of that, especially as a buyer specialist. 95 to 98% of my business is all buyers. So I know that having good relationships with those listing agents in town is extremely important, especially the seasoned ones who have a lot of business. So any opportunity that I have to teach them and have them teach me, I always take full advantage.
I'm already old, so I don't feel that pressure anymore. But when I started in the business,
Kick you off YPN now, right?
listen, I'm holding on to your coattails. Young at heart. When I started in the business, I came from my father's business. He owned a Spanish language bookstore and publishing house. So our clientele was predominantly 50 and up, and I started working there when I was able to walk. So I was very accustomed to the rejection that I was going to get from the older people. But much like Saria said, it's very true.
I say that.
Very Hispanic, right? Saria. So, in a nutshell, your other agent is your best friend, and on my email list, it's not just clients, it's a lot of agents, because my thing is turn and burn. I mean, the longer the property sits on the market, the worse it is. So I market to agents all the time, and agents are my best friends, and one of my, I guess, best moments was I sold a house for another realtor. He had just retired, and he wanted to sell his house, and he called me because he had been following me since I started in the business. And that was an honor to me that he felt that I was a good candidate. So at the end of the day, I mean, you got to embrace that generational gap, and really the guys that put us here are the ones that have been doing this for X amount of years. So they're the founders, and they're the leaders that we have to look up to.
Well, I definitely got involved a lot, like Sarah was saying too. I promote my agents, the other agents in the area, by attending their open houses and being there for them. And they, even though I was very young, and still am, but they embraced me completely, knowing that I was here for good and that I mean business, and I'm not here just messing around. And so they definitely embraced me. So all of the agents and I have great relationships, I feel like, in the Upper Keys. So I'm very lucky there. We have very young at heart agents anyway. And as far as our customers go, I definitely felt the generational gap quite a bit. One of the first things that I would hear a lot is, well, you've got to meet my grandson. I'm here to sell you a house. So that was definitely something I got said a lot. So they certainly noticed the generational gap right away. So, but I tried to I ask them how they prefer to be communicated with. I text, I call, and I email all of my customers, especially when they first come in through the website. I do all three and see which one they respond to. And whichever they respond to is what I'm happy to do for them.
I think one of the things that you all three touched on was teaching, and as leaders here, many times it can be intimidating for people who don't know something that they feel like they should to ask for help. And so I think it is a pretty cool thing when we can learn from each other. I mean, I sat in on the Facebook class and asked a bunch of questions that, as a YPNer I should know or something like that. So I think it is pretty interesting when we can say, hey, we learn from each other and we learn from each other. And we do appreciate, like all of you said, we do appreciate when somebody who's seasoned says, hey, maybe this is a different way of doing it, and vice versa. So I think that's incredible. One of the ways we do that is through leadership. And a lot of the people here who travel here, I think we have 85, 90 attendees at the conference. I'll say we all kind of drink the same Kool-Aid. So a lot of us see each other at Florida Realtors and maybe again at NAR, maybe we see each other at GUARD. And so I want to ask you all how you got involved, or why you got involved, and what's something that we all can take to the people back home and say, look, we want you to get involved. What's a reason you give to other young people or other people of your age to get involved? What do you see as the benefit of doing it so that we can grow? It's so great to see everybody here all the time, but how do we bring in that new blood, and what worked for you or what works for you?
Being involved was, again, just really, it's so important to me, and I always go back to that. Starting at such a difficult time, it really is what gave me, I don't know if I'd still be in the industry if I didn't get involved with the board when I did. It gave me the confidence that I needed. I felt like I knew more than maybe some of my colleagues that weren't attending these events. And then networking with so many great agents from around the country and learning what they're doing and learning those pearls. And even if it's sitting at the bar, networking with them afterwards, you get to learn what they're doing, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So sometimes by just attending these events, I think the return on investment for all these events for me has certainly produced. So I always feel like it's worth my time, and for those agents who aren't getting involved, I think there's a lot that's going right by them in the industry as it changes and what's coming up next and economic trends and all those things. And so I think being involved is really the easiest thing that you can do and the most productive.
Originally, when I got involved, being allowed to join on a leadership level, I felt like we have an opportunity to make a difference. I mean, we all have our struggles in the business, the realtors that don't pick up the phone, the realtors that don't answer their emails, I mean, whatnot. So being catapulted into this position and being able to say, hey, pick up your phone, answer your emails. I mean, we're professionals, and being able to say that in a room, and then the people in this room carry that message around town. That's been what excited me the most. And then the benefit that I get to meet all these wonderful people and learn from them, that's just a plus for me.
Well, being a leader, I don't think is really something that you can teach. I was asked actually last week, we were going over trying to expand our board for the Broward chapter of YPN, and one of my colleagues came up to me and said, well, what made you want to be a leader? And when I thought about it, I was like, well, I really always have been. When I was in middle school, I was in charge of different clubs. When I was in high school, I was in charge of different things. So it's something that's within you. I don't think that that's something necessarily that we can teach. But when it came time to getting involved with this board, I didn't really know I was getting involved. Chris Tello called me and told me to show up for a meeting, and I did. And then I was on a board. But I've gotten so much out of it. When I talk to young agents and talk to them about the benefits of being on the board, of course there's networking, and that's a huge part of it, and knowing the other agents in your area, again, back to your agents are your best clients. But another huge advantage is being able to get info first and being able to know what's going on with the MLS or what's going on in your board or in Florida or in the country. Things like this legal update that we had this morning. I knew a lot of this was coming. I had heard about it from my lender because I have a very good relationship with them, but now it was on such a deeper level, I understand it now, and I can go back to my office now and give them all of that information. And that's something that if you're not on a board and you're not in leadership, you're not privy to that information. So that's a huge bonus.
No, and both you, all of you, talked about getting the information first. And so when we talk about getting information or staying on top of things, what trends are you seeing in the real estate industry that you think have staying power, right? We all thought that, I don't know, everyone's nervous that Zillow and Trulia are going to take over our jobs. But what trends are you seeing that do have staying power that we all need to kind of either get behind, learn a little bit more about? And I'll start with you, Miguel.
Well, as of recently, I'm seeing a lot more of the video marketing, and basically it's almost like giving a home tour without even being at the home, and I think it's very interesting, and for the present time, I think that's the next wave that people are going to start getting is more links to actually having a home tour, professionally done, and you're going to be able to deal with a lot more foreign buyers that way.
I think Miguel has a great point, and I'm seeing a lot of 3D modeling happening, and now that we're transitioning into a seller's market, where people, I think, will probably tend to do less of those expensive things because you don't really have to because it will be off the market so quick. But think about the extra exposure you'll get by still doing that video, by doing the 3D model. Now a buyer can write an offer without even coming down. So you'll get, I feel like, much more, multiple offers by still doing that competitive tool and putting the 3D model on there and things like that. I think that's definitely the way to go.
So there's two things that really come to mind for me when it comes to trends. One I would say is that sellers and buyers are much more educated now than they have ever been, and I only seeing that growing. I don't know the statistic, but there is statistics out there about how many buyers, before they even talk to a realtor, they've already been searching for weeks or months online. They know everything about what's going on in the neighborhood. They know the comps better than most of the agents know the comps. So that's something you need to always be on your game. You need to know your market. You need to have that knowledge, because if you don't, they will, and they're going to, it's embarrassing. But the other thing really, when you mentioned Zillow and Trulia, is reviews. Customer reviews are becoming huge in this industry. If you guys are not doing that yet and pushing your clients to write reviews, you're definitely a little bit behind. I would start doing it now. We just started, my team, a year ago working on our Zillow reviews and contacting our buyers and sellers. Now we're like 250 reviews in, all 5-star reviews. If you type in that you're looking for a realtor in our area, we're the only person that's going to come up. It's gotten to a point where people aren't just looking for reviews on restaurants. They're looking for every type of industry. We're on Angie's List, we're on Zillow, we're on Trulia. I get a huge portion of my business from Yelp. One of my clients created a Yelp page for me I didn't even know existed. And all of a sudden I started getting calls from people who found me on Yelp. So there's so many avenues out there that aren't even being touched upon that, again, that's free. If you call your clients and have them write reviews, that's just free PR for you guys. So that's something, if you're not doing, you definitely should start.
Those are all great answers. I like this. So I want to go a little bit about information. You come to events, you get your information that way, but how do you guys stay motivated and informed? Is it books? Is there a certain book that you consistently go back to? Is it certain newspapers? Are you reading Florida Realtors? Are you what types of things help you stay informed and are most successful for you in the business? And we'll start with Saria.
I've recently started reading a lot more. It was something that I loved doing a long time ago, and I just let it go away. So I've started training my mind and understanding that I need to keep learning in order to keep growing. So every night before I go to bed, I've started reading. And a book that I've read recently that really was a huge inspiration, I just finished it yesterday, is The Miracle Morning. Has anybody here read that yet? Oh, it's awesome. Okay, so if you haven't read it yet, it took me 2 days to read it, and it was a huge, huge inspiration to me, and I cannot wait to get back and implement everything that I read. And a huge portion of this business is mindset. So I'm very, very big into reading things that have to do with positive thinking and the mind in general. I'm very big into the law of attraction. So things like that, The Secret, those are very, very big in my world. That's where I get a lot of my juice, I guess you could say. Anyone who is on my Facebook, you see I'm very motivational, inspirational. That's really what I choose to let drive me. Everything else, like, embarrassingly enough, I pretty much read about on Facebook.
In terms of education, I'm very fortunate. A group of guys that I grew up with that were very close, they're all considered top producers in their office, whether it be in mortgages or real estate or whatnot, and we're a very close-knit group. So I get a lot of the education from them, what's coming in their industry. So whereas guys like Michael Ortiz, who's a mortgage broker, a good buddy of mine, any changes in the lending, I get it from him. I have a really good friend of mine that's a real estate attorney, get a lot of knowledge from him, especially with the changes on the HUD now and whatnot. And then, unfortunately, I have a bunch of close friends that are realtors, and that's where I get a lot of my motivation from, because even though I'm up here, most of them are producing a lot more than I am, so and I'm very competitive. So when I hear that, I get very angry, and I pound the pavement. So that's where I get most of my motivation from, is from competition.
There's nothing worse than seeing a competitor sign right across the street from your house. That's never good. I actually just read, I just ordered a bunch of books actually as well, now that I'm a broker, putting together training manuals and things like that. So my favorite book out of the stack so far was 6 Steps to 7 Figures by Pat Hibben. He's a Keller Williams agent, and it's just a phenomenal story about how he grew his business. And he has 250, he's not a broker, but he leads a team of 250 agents or something, and it was very motivational, just phenomenal story about hard work. As far as keeping me motivated, that would be my agents, and seeing them unmotivated motivates me. So we do accountability sessions quite often, and make sure that, because it's important, I think, to goal plan in this business, and even on a daily basis. Okay, well, today I need to contact this many customers to make sure that I'm reaching out to as many people, and if it's just to say hello or whatnot. So we do goal setting each day, and we hold each other accountable, and that's definitely motivating.
And I'll open it up for questions if we have any. Make sure we get everyone out to the next session. But you all spoke about some things that motivate you and some things that you learn. A lot of us here work on teams and manage and have other people under us. What's something that you want in a broker or in a team leader, or that you look for? I mean, competition is great, right? So someone doing well, but what is something that you would say, hey, I like this. I like the fact that my manager does this. I'd like to see more of this happening in the industry. And I threw this question at you. So if any of you want to take it on first, I'll let you go.
Well, I'll look at it from the other side. When I was opening the business, I thought a lot about value proposition. What do I want to offer to my agents? What will make me stand out from the rest? Why would somebody want to join my company? And I looked at the past companies that I had been with, one being a large franchise, Prudential, and the other was a boutique company here in the Keys that does excellent business. But I felt like they were both lacking something. The big franchise had training manual and they just threw it at you, but they didn't really offer you any leads. And as a new agent, it was very expensive to get that. The last company didn't offer an office. They were completely mobile, which has its perks too. But so I felt very lonely as an agent there, and like I didn't have a lot of support. So I vowed to offer as much as I possibly could to the agents. So I think that's important to still keep that balance in this changing industry, is to have that office environment. And I think brokers need to offer that, and they need to be there for their agents, and still offer technology and offer leads, because it's difficult and expensive to get them, and just offer, just be there and offer as much as you possibly can.
You know, I think I'm kind of going to piggyback off what she said, because at the end of the day, the word support is so big in our industry. I mean, when I got into the business, it was basically sink or swim. You know, there was nothing going on. We were in a downward spiral, and everyone was just trying to tread water. So nobody around me could help me, because they were trying to help themselves. And now that the market's gotten better and whatnot, and I see the new agents in our office, a lot of them call me. I'm never in the office. I'm not very good at that. But I do get a lot of phone calls, sometimes from people I don't even know that just joined our office, because our manager gives them our number, or my number, and they call me with questions, and it's almost so gratifying to be able to help them and steer them in the right direction, so that, you know, they don't make the mistakes that I made, which was plenty. Yeah.
Yeah, support is obviously extremely important. I think for me, it's also, I need the motivation. I need someone to drive me. I need to see what's going on, and I need to learn. For me, what my team leader does, in Keller Williams, in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, another one if you haven't read that is awesome. And in that book, it talks about the rock and roll theory. And if you're on a team, this will definitely resonate with you. So the rock and roll theory is that as a team, you all have a goal, and your goal is your rock. And in order to get to your rock, everyone has to have their role. You can't rely on just one person to get to your rock and to get to your goal. Everyone has to do their part. So we created a rock and roll board that is a monthly board that keeps track of every buyer sales, listings gone pending, closing, so that at any point in time we can see what's going on with the team. And for me, that's like a huge motivator. They're pegs when we put them on the board, and these pegs drive us crazy. We're more excited to be able to put a peg on the board than we are to turn in a file. So little things like that to keep me focused and to keep me excited. We do a lot of things where it's contests and monthly contests or quarterly contests to keep people energized and get them excited and realize the bigger picture here and see exactly not just what you're doing, but what you as a team are doing. How many people you guys are helping is something that's really, really important to me.
Okay, so now I want to open it up for questions. If you guys have any questions, anything that you thought was interesting, you want people to elaborate, I have plenty more questions to ask them, but sometimes it's more fun if anybody has any questions. Carlos. Sure, why not?
Miguel, you mentioned just recently implementing Top Producer. That's been a long struggle of mine to find a CRM that I like that works. I just want to know so far what your take on it is and what the other panelists have used or like or don't like about CRMs.
Start with Miguel.
At the end of the day, I didn't do as much research as you probably have. The follow-up coach was probably the best part of Top Producer for me. I haven't even started to implement all the tools it has, because at the end of the day, it's just full of resources. But my biggest thing was the follow-up coach. In terms of transactions and stuff, I mean, I'm still using paper. It's crazy, I know. I mean, that's crazy to you. But I'm using paper. I mean, I still do things with pens. I mean, you know, I still take contracts to the client and sit with them, blue pen, the works. I mean, it's wild. But I personally love it because that follow-up coach, it's just been, you know, a discipline for me to wake up every day, see who my calls are. If it's someone, for example, that I know is busy during a certain hour, but I do want to, you know, reach out to them, I'll send them a text, I'll send them an email, but it's just getting into that habit of staying in touch. And you know, a lot of realtors do time blocking. They'll make phone calls between 9 and 11 or whatnot. For me, it's just all day. It's all day. If you're in the car, why not do something productive?
That I use does a lot of automated things for me, which is fantastic and really frees up a lot of time. So that was really important to me. In the follow-up procedures that are on there, and I did some studies because I normally would reach out to people about 3 times and then set them on auto and set them on drip campaigns. But I recently did some research and found out that actually it takes about 11 times to really establish that relationship. So I upped that. Now I make sure that I contact them quite a bit more. And if anybody in here isn't familiar with the CRM, it's a client relations management system, so it helps you keep track of all your customers, all the conversations you've had, follow-up systems, and they really can get extensive and they can offer so much, so they can to be a little overwhelming at times too. Top Producer is a really a really big brand. I used a local company. They're based in Florida. They're called Torch X, and Torch X, yeah, and they're a local Torch, Torch. I guess I wasn't really talking in this before, sorry. But they're really fantastic, and they offer a lot of client insight. So it shows me little graphs of what the customers were looking at. They were looking mostly in Key Largo. They were looking at mostly at 3 bedrooms. So the CRM can really help make your business so much more efficient. But at the end of the day, and back to one question we talked about earlier, what has staying power? Even though we have all these automated systems that do so much for us and we can handle so much more, really, at the end of the day, real estate sales are still a relationship business, and we still need to do that personal touch and call them as much as often and see them in person. And they say nose to nose, toes to toes makes the money, and it's true, and we can't forget that. And still, personal friendly service is still what's going to help close the deal.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with that. What I teach in my market center all the time is about, it's awesome to have all of these fancy technologies and all of these fun things for you to be able to incorporate, but you have to remember the basics of this business. You've got to be on the ground running. And my grandma reminds me every single day, she literally has everyone call her grandma, and when someone walks into an open house, she grabs them by the hand and walks them through the house. And being around someone like that has really instilled that in me, and that's something that I always remember. But for a CRM that I use, which is amazing, is called Boomtown. I don't know if anyone here has heard of it. It is definitely not cheap or affordable, but it is amazing. It's a group of brilliant people who have put this together, and it is an absolutely incredible system. It takes everything that you thought a CRM could do and blows it out of the water. We actually recently just started working with an additional company as well called Rockerbox, and I don't know if you guys have heard of that. It's a branch off.
What's so great about Boomtown? Give us like 1 or 2.
Wow. Okay, so Boomtown, obviously it's follow-up, it's all of that stuff. You have your to-dos. Every morning I sign in and it tells me who I have to call, who I have to do this to. I can text through Boomtown. I can email through Boomtown. I can do searches through Boomtown. They set up a website for you, so when a client goes on there and they do a search, it creates an automated search based on all of what they have searched. When the client registers on Boomtown, I can click on identity lookup and it'll tell me everything that's on the internet about this person. It will give me all of their contact information, their age, where they were when they registered. There's just so much more tailoring that I can do within that program. The other company that I was talking about is Rockerbox, which is basically like a sister company to that, and it's a lead scrubbing company. So now we have hired them because we had too many leads to know what to do with. We've had Boomtown now for almost 4 years, and we get thousands and thousands of leads every month from there. Rockerbox now takes all of the incoming leads and they scrub them and don't pass them to our buyer agents until they're within 30 to 60 days out from ready to buy. So it's taken you. It's very difficult as a buyer agent, obviously, to do all of these things. So whenever I go to all of these classes and talk to these top producers, they say, you're expecting your buyer agents to do way too much. They are not built to be following up. That's not what they're built to do. They're built to do what's going on right now, to get the sale done, etc. So you're losing a lot of money by expecting your buyer agents or you to really follow up with these people for months or years before they're ready to buy. So by hiring a company like this, it's really helped us be able to focus on the hot, ready-to-buy A buyers that are ready right now so that we can work with the business that's right in front of us and really focus on that.
I'm going to go back to you, Jaclyn, real quick, and give us a little information. I think a lot of people know Top Producer, so what Torch X you have found most beneficial about Torch X?
I think the automated processes that they've integrated and the customer insights. So they'll integrate emails and text as well, so you can do that through the system, which is nice. So when they call you and sometimes we're all second homes here, so you work with these clients sometimes for a year before they end up buying all this follow-up. So you can easily just see all of the texts and all of the email conversations that you have ever had, and it might make you remember who they are, or maybe not, and it just looks like you do, so that's really great too. So it establishes sort of a personal relationship between you two by just being able to recall everything that you've talked about. And then just the insights and the graphs that I was talking about, it'll have little pie charts of what they've looked at most. It'll show every house that they have looked at, how many times they've looked at it, so you can see what they're most interested in, and creating the automatic searches for me. So my system sends out an automatic email, a text, and a text for them, and then I just do the phone call. So all I'm doing is a phone call, so that frees up so much more of my time, and then it sets them up on an automatic search based on the properties that they've looked at. So, and it's a local company, like I said, and there's 2 guys, so plus a engineering team, but so they are very responsive to all of our needs, and they're constantly adding more things. They just added an auto dialer, so if you get behind schedule, you can put 10 or 15 calls in a bucket and call all of them, so that makes it very easy too.
Okay, I don't know if I have time. We'll go for one more question.
I just wanted to know about your website, Jaclyn, and the back-end system. I'm imagining Torchex is part of your back-end system and lead generation.
So can you give us a little insight, or, maybe a website or who you used, if you're happy to share that information on your back-end system?
Well, it's actually all one system that's integrated into one. And when I said I did research, that's what I was looking for, was something that I could just go to one place and not have to use different systems and piece it all together. They're one company. They do the front end of the system for me, so they have a nice front end for the website. And then the lead comes in through my back end, which is the CRM, but it's all through Torchex. They also help me with all the Google AdWords and getting all that set up. So they handle everything for me, and we just handle the leads when they come in, which is fantastic. So it's a one-stop shop.
Okay, so I want to wrap up a little bit, and everyone's head started nodding when someone said it's still a relationship business, and I think it's something to pinpoint. As young professionals, we're constantly looking for the next new technology, and that's really cool. And someone said to me one time, why do YPNers want to get together? Aren't they always on their phone? They don't really talk. They just text and, sit on their phone all day. And I'm like, no, actually, they really like to get together and really like community. And so it is something that I think all realtors really like. I mean, we get into this business and we deal with people on a daily basis. Whether or not sometimes we text more than we call, we do really enjoy the relationship and the relationship building. And I think it shows here as young generations, move through and become really incredible top producers, it does show you that it still is. And so I'm going to put a little plug for YPN. So if you do have younger people in your office, or anyone that you know of that's younger and considering getting into the business, that think it may be an older generation business, or there's not anyone to connect to, these are 3 incredible resources for you all to use. Anyone here with the YPN, we always want to grow our community and build better realtors and work with all realtors and make sure that it is a better professional community for us to be in and to continue to grow. So I do want to thank our incredible panelists, if you all can give them a nice round of applause. And I hope you guys enjoy. I think the next one in here is another YPN, another YPN talk class. And then we do have Ari Bar Camp coming up at 3:30, and I'll do another plug for that. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool non-conference, on-conference that will be going on. We'll get to learn from each other, more roundtable style teaching. So please stick around for that, and thank you so much.